The final book in this month's Special Collection Spotlight session is a bit of a cheat, as it's actually a set of 3 books. The Profanity of Paint from 1916, The Oracle of Colour from 1918, and The Painter's Voice from around about 1919. Now, this was a trilogy written by William Kidder, and this is William Kidder here. So we also have in the Bromley House collection a copy of an article from the Sneinton magazine from 1992 talking about William Kidder. Now, William Kidder was a famous local artist, poet and brushmaker. He was born in 1859 in Loughborough, but spent most of his life in Nottingham. His father was a brushmaker, and he moved to Nottingham in order to expand his business and set up a shop in Lower Parliament Street. When his father died, William inherited the business, which continued to expand, and he opened a shop on South Parade, which had the brushmakers on the ground floor and his artist studio on the top floor. In 1907, he published a collection of sonnets, with the subjects being local poets, including Byron, Kirke White and Philip James Bailey, whose collection we also have in Bromley House Library, and which I spoke about at the very first Spotlight session back in January. We have a copy of sonnets in the Bromley House collection, and that particular copy includes a letter of donation to the library from William Kidder himself. So Kidder was a painter and illustrator, and this article includes some of his illustrations of Nottingham. So obviously there's Nottingham Castle, as well as some rather fine little illustrations of the people that he saw in Nottingham. But he's mostly remembered as a painter in oils. As a painter, he was originally became well known locally and then became known nationally as well. And some of his paintings were exhibited at the Royal Academy. However, around about 1919 or 1920, he became very dissatisfied with his work, and he burnt all of his previous paintings, the ones which hadn't been sold. He then developed a new style of painting in oils for himself, which was rather impressionistic and focused on bright, vivid colours. Some of his paintings in this latter period of his work can be found in the collections of Nottingham Castle and also at New Walk Museum in Leicester. In later life, William Kidder also published on other subjects. In 1927, he made a contribution to the Pitman Common Commodities and Industries series with his book The Brushmaker and the Secrets of His Craft, His Romance, and we also have a copy of that in the Bromley House collection. That book, as well as being an interesting exploration of the actual craft and practicalities of making brushes, indicated William Kidder's socialist tendencies, and these became even more apparent in his later publications. His last published book, in 1930, was on the trade unions, for instance. So, this 3-volume set is really interesting. They are rather lovely little books with their very distinctive orange covers and this rather lovely arts and craft type font on the front. It's a very stylish design they have, and they're really nice books to hold, really beautiful things, with this very nice thick quality paper and the font that's used throughout them. They are really rather nice little set. They contain short musings, some of which are only a single paragraph or even shorter, and some of which are a few pages long. And overall, they talk about the importance and role of colour in painting. They're kind of explorations of William Kidder's ideas about the use of colour in painting. The very first book, A Profanity of Paint, has on the flyleaf an inscription written to the author, written to James Ward from the author, dated 1917, which was the year after the book was published. And also, rather interestingly, the third book in the series is dedicated... Here we are, William Kidder. The third book is dedicated to my son, killed in action. So this was dedicated to his son Ernest, who died during the First World War. So these books were published from sort of 1916 to 1919. And you can see that this was just approaching the period in his life when William Kidder had his incident where he burnt all his previous work, where he was clearly developing his thoughts and ideas about art and what it should be and what he wanted it to be as he was writing these particular books. And then, they appeared they were in publication just a few years before he got to the point where he felt that he wanted to change what he was doing. So these are really interesting. These are really fascinating books as an insight into the thought processes and the development of this famous local artist, and also as an example of the range of treasures that can be found within the James Ward collection. So thank you very much for listening to this month's special collection spotlight session. This is, I'm certain, only the first of a number of sessions that I will do on treasures of the James Ward collection, because there are so many fascinating books in this collection that I want to show you. So I hope you've enjoyed this very short introduction, and see you again soon.